Founded in 1070 by the Almoravid dynasty, the southern Moroccan city of Marrakesh was once an important political and cultural center with influence throughout the Western Muslim world. Marrakesh offers a fascinating combination of delightful aromas and lively, colorful marketplaces set against the arid desert. Marrakesh is Morocco's second largest city and the administrative hub of southern Morocco. The real magic of the city can be found in its cosmopolitan atmosphere and magnificent location. The Berber Almoravids dynasty made Marrakesh the capital of an empire that covered most of the Maghreb, or Northwest Africa, and extended well into Europe. With the Almoravid conquest of southern Spain, Marrakesh was invested with the cosmopolitan culture of Andalusia. Under the Almoravids, Marrakesh became a bastion of Islamic civilization and an intellectual center where the most famous scholars and philosophers of the age converged. The power of the Almoravids also made Marrakesh into a great commercial center, and wealth flowed into the city, further transforming its architecture. Lavish buildings were constructed and splendid gardens designed. The ancient ramparts and gates of the city are monuments to its medieval preeminence. It is impossible not to happen upon Marrakesh's el-Fna square. A central route through Marrakesh's Medina, it offers a taste of the myriad activities that characterize the imperial town. The charm of the Jemaa square comes from its multitude of street artists, stalls selling dried fruit or freshly squeezed orange juice, and the multitude of small restaurants that take over its center beginning in the early evening, and add to the variety of smells that waft through the square. At nightfall, a colorful crowd converges on Jemaa Square in order to take in the cool evening air while watching street performers do their acts. Located in the heart of the Medina, Jemaa Square is the geographical, cultural, and social center of Marrakesh. It is overlooked by the nearby Koutoubia minaret and lets out onto the streets of the souk. It is an essential crossing point for heading towards the various riads and sumptuous restaurants hidden away in Marrakesh's alleys. One of the attractions of Jemaa Square is that its activities are not exclusively destined for tourists. Herbalists, tooth pullers, public authors, or marabouts offer their services to a varied Moroccan clientele. In 2001, the cultural space of Jemaa Square was included among the masterpieces of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity. This is a list maintained by UNESCO of places of intangible culture which the organization considers to be of significance. The square is newly paved, and the cart stalls of its wandering merchants are gleaming, though standardized. The proliferation of fuel lamps illuminating the stalls and restaurants is reminiscent of a swarm of fireflies in the heart of the town. The small open-air restaurants attract customers with their colorful and tasty dishes, generally eaten around a simple table. Famous and admired the world over, Jemaa Square surprises visitors with the wide variety of street performances that can be seen there on any given day, along with more cultural entertainment. The triangular esplanade has become a destination for innumerable acrobatic, juggling, and snake charming shows, along with Berber musicians and other performers. The numerous cafes lining the Jemaa offer a good opportunity to indulge in one of the square's main attractions, watching the variety of performance artists. Several passageways lead from the square onto Marrakesh's fantastic souks. Most anything can be bought in the souks, or markets of Marrakesh, just adjacent to Jemaa Square. From spices to shoes, jalabas to kaftans, teapots to tagines, and much, much more. The origin of the name Jemaa el-Fna remains unknown. It means assembly of the dead in Arabic, but as the word Jemaa also means mosque in Arabic, it could also mean place of the vanished mosque, in reference to a destroyed Almoravid mosque. The Almoravids were a Berber dynasty from the Sahara that spread over a wide area of North Africa, northwestern Africa, and the Iberian Peninsula during the 11th century. Under this dynasty, the Moorish Empire was extended to include present-day Morocco, the Western Sahara, Mauritania, Gibraltar, Tlemcen in Algeria, and a great part of what is now Senegal and Mali to the south, as well as Spain and Portugal to the north in Europe. In its heyday, the empire stretched 3,000 kilometers from north to south. The award-winning documentary Morocco, the Past and Present of Jemaa el-Fna features the storytellers, musicians, acrobats, and snake charmers of the celebrated crossroads of Arab and Berber cultures, with historical commentary provided by the noted Moroccan scholar Hamid Triki. The term Berber has been used in Europe since at least the 17th century and is still used today. It was borrowed from the Arabic designation for these populations, el-Barbar. As the day progresses, the entertainment on offer changes. The snake charmers depart, and in the afternoon and evening the square becomes more crowded, with the chilla dancing boys, magicians, and peddlers of traditional medicines. The pride and joy of Marrakesh are its gardens, tended with an age-old passion that dates back to the days of the Almoravids. Marrakesh's magnificent palm trees were first planted by the Almoravids, and many of the city's gardens are as ancient as its buildings. Many of Marrakesh's most beautiful parks and gardens date from the Berber dynasty and remain to this day excellent spots to relax in the shade after visiting the city's many tourist attractions. The Menara Gardens is one of the most beautiful parks in the city of Marrakesh. It is easy to reach this beautiful garden, and this accessibility makes it a favorite place for tourists as well as locals. The Menara Gardens were built in the 12th century by the Almohad ruler Abd al-Mumin. The name Menara derives from the garden's pavilion, or menze, with its small green pyramid roof. The pavilion was built during the 16th century Saadi dynasty and renovated in 1869 by Sultan Abd al-Rahman of Morocco, who used to spend his summers in Marrakesh. The Mullah Sharif Abd al-Rahman, a ruler from the Alawite dynasty, was Sultan of Morocco from 1822 to 1859. Marrakesh's Agdal Gardens, an irrigated garden originally created by the Almoravids in the 12th century and enlarged in the days of the Saadians, was revamped and encircled by ramparts during the reign of Mullah Abd al-Rahman. The pavilion and basin and artificial lake are surrounded by orchards and olive groves. The purpose of the basin was to irrigate the surrounding gardens and orchards using a sophisticated hydraulic system that conveys water from the mountains which rise approximately 30 kilometers away from Marrakesh. Construction on the al-Badi Palace was begun in 1578 to commemorate the victory of Ahmad al-Mansur over the Portuguese at the Battle of Three Kings. It took 25 years to complete and was largely financed by war indemnity paid by the Portuguese. The palace became known as the Incomparable. Though only remnants of the palace have survived, they nonetheless give a good indication of the quality of its magnificent original decorations. Unfortunately, the 17th century Moulay Ismail had most of its decorations, all in fact, but its inner red walls, removed to decorate his own palace. Over the centuries, the Koutoubia mosque has become an important symbol of Marrakesh. Its construction was begun in 1158 by the Sultan Almohades Abd al-Mumin, soon after his conquest of Marrakesh, and completed in 1199 with the construction of its famous minaret, ordered by the Sultan's grandson, Yaqub al-Mansur. Koutoubia, literally the bookseller's mosque in Arabic, is named for the large number of sellers of books and manuscripts that set up their stalls in the immediate vicinity of this ancient building. Koutoubia occupies the square of a former Almoravid palace and was built after the destruction of an earlier mosque that did not face Mecca. This jewel of Spanish Moorish architecture is made up of 16 outlying naves and one larger central nave. Its lavish decoration, inspired by Almoravid, is nonetheless infused by a certain sobriety. Koutoubia's minaret went on to inspire the architects of the Giralda of Seville and the Hassan Tower of Rabat. The top of the minaret is adorned with 3 golden balls made of copper. Rumor has it that the original balls were made of gold. The minaret rises 77 meters above the ground, and the mosque itself is sizable. Its present appearance of red stone is rather severe, though it is believed to have been originally covered in plaster. Plans exist to restore the Koutoubia to its original appearance. This square tower in finely worked dressed stone is 77 meters high, including its lantern. An internal stairway allows access to its upper dome-covered halls and to the top of the tower. The upper facades of the Koutoubia minaret are decorated with ceramic tiles, forming different patterns on each side. The Yusuf Madrasa was founded in the 14th century and rebuilt about 200 years later. A madrasa included everything from classrooms to dormitories for its students. Though the madrasa contains many interesting corners, its courtyard remains its main attraction. With a strong Spanish Moor influence, perhaps including the participation of Spanish architects, the courtyard is an elegant combination of intricate forms and styles. The minaret is considered the ultimate structure of its kind. 6 rooms, one above the other, constitute the interior. Leading around them is a ramp which the muezzin would use to reach his balcony. The muezzin is a person chosen by the mosque to lead the call to Friday service and the 5 daily prayers from one of the mosque's minarets. The professional muezzin is chosen to serve at the mosque for his good character, voice, and skills. However, he is not considered a cleric, but rather is comparable to the Christian sexton. Moulay Yaqub was the 3rd Almohad Amir. Succeeding his father, Abu Yaqub Yusuf, Yaqub al-Mansur reigned from 1184 to 1199 with distinction. Under his rule, trade, architecture, philosophy, and the sciences flourished, to say nothing of military conquests. In the Battle of Alacourse on July 18, 1195, Yaqub al-Mansur defeated Castilian King Alfonso VIII. After this important victory, he took the title al-Mansur Billah, which means made victorious by God. He died in Marrakesh 4 years later. During his reign, Moulay Yaqub undertook several major projects, including the construction of the Koutoubia Mosque and the Al-Mansouriya Mosque in Marrakesh, and a kasbah in the southern part of its Medina. He attempted to build what would have been the world's largest mosque in Rabat. However, construction on the mosque was halted after Al-Mansur died. Only the beginnings of the mosque had been completed, including the Hassan Tower. Al-Mansur also protected the philosopher Averroes and kept him as a favorite at court. Al-Mansur came to the throne after his father was killed in Portugal in 1184. He promised revenge for his father's death, but fighting with Almohads, who were ousted from the throne, delayed him in Africa. After defeating the Almohads again, he set out for the Iberian Peninsula to avenge his father's death. Landing in Iberia, defeating and capturing all its major cities, Al-Mansur returned to Morocco with 3,000 Christian captives, young women and children. When the Christians in the Iberian Peninsula heard of Al-Mansur's return to Africa, they revolted, recapturing many of the Moorish cities. When Al-Mansur heard this news, he returned to the Iberian Peninsula and defeated the Christians again. This time, many were taken in chained groups of 50 and later sold in Africa as slaves. In addition to being one of the greatest military leaders in history, al-Mansur was a lover of the arts. Marrakesh has two main divisions, the old city called the Medina of Marrakesh and the modern city. Built by Arabs beginning in the 9th century BC, the Medina of Marrakesh is enclosed by walls and traversed by many narrow and maze-like streets. The Medina of Marrakesh contains a wealth of historical fountains, palaces, and mosques, monuments conserved for their cultural significance. Medina's streets are too narrow for cars to pass. Free from automobile traffic, this feature makes it unique among highly populated urban centers. The Medina of Marrakesh should not be missed. It is the part of the city packed with small shops, some selling tourist souvenirs, and others serving the local people, selling food and other daily necessities. The Medina is an exotic, fascinating oasis within the modern city of Marrakesh. Its quiet offers a needed respite from the noisy traffic that clogs the modern city outside its walls. The Medina was founded in 1071 by the Almoravids, who had by this time already assumed control of the caravan routes of the Western Sahara. Members of this dynasty constructed a kasbah, built a fortification around their new settlement, and planted a palm grove. Part of the Medina's originality stems from the fact that it was built on a site previously devoid of human settlements. The city's first architects could therefore occupy all the space they needed in order to construct its buildings and infrastructure on an exceptionally large scale. This building philosophy persisted over the centuries and explains in large part why the Medina of Marrakesh now extends over more than 600 hectares, making it the biggest in Morocco. The Medina was originally just a military camp and market, but the city's founders soon felt the need to establish symbols of law and order. After erecting some earthen walls, they had a vast mosque built surrounded by all the necessary services. During the 12th century, the city grew to the southeast with the construction of the military and administrative quarter of the Kasbah. At this time, the city walls were extended and fortified in order to defend Marrakesh against the attacks of Berber mountain tribes. Nowadays, the Medina remains one of Marrakesh's most important residential and commercial areas. It is the most densely populated area of the city and remains an important production center for handicrafts, with more than 40,000 craftsmen working and selling their goods in its world-famous souks. The souks of Marrakesh are like a labyrinth where you soon lose all sense of direction. Maps and guidebooks turn out to be of help only when you stick to one of the few wide alleyways. Some might find it overwhelming and consider the colors and shapes of the crafts on display to be exaggerated. But there is a self-assured elegance to the strong colors and wild shapes that decorate everything from carpets to water mugs. Ceramics are a favorite craft item sold in the souks. Clay jars, vases, plates, and cooking dishes have been made for centuries in Morocco, with every region of the country being known for a certain type of ceramic or color. Berber craftsmen near Marrakesh make ochre-colored ware. Objects made of leather are another well-known Moroccan craft item. Leather working is as ancient a tradition in Morocco as carpet weaving. The various regions of Morocco are skilled at making different items. In the Rif Mountains, craftsmen make satchels, shoulder bags, belts, and leather-covered earthenware. Marrakesh artists are known for leather clothing and camel saddles. Other items such as banana yellow babooshes or slippers and ottomans are also quite popular and can be found in most medinas. The souk is a living place with an intricate infrastructure. The various trades are assembled in quarters. Part of its charm is to stop and watch the artisans perform their centuries-old crafts. Moroccan women have been making rugs and carpets for millennia. The making of just one rug can take from a month to more than a year to complete, depending on the complexity of the rug's pattern and its size. Moroccan rugs are famous for their quality in terms of both workmanship and colors. Prices often depend on whether the rug is woven or knotted. Knotted rugs take much longer to complete and are much more expensive. Berber carpets are probably the most famous. Carpets made by these groups who live in the high Atlas Mountains are known for their rich, warm colors, while carpets from the south of Meknes have more detailed weavings. Marrakesh is full of examples of elaborate woodwork, such as painted or sculptured panels, chests with inlaid designs, or elaborate doors. Moroccans make baskets from the leaves of palm trees. Colorful hats, trays, and straw boxes are made in practically every Moroccan village. The ceramic tiles used to make the famous Moroccan mosaics are made by various cooperatives specially formed to exercise their craft. The cooperatives in Fez are the best known because of the extremely elaborate patterns they have created throughout the centuries. Jewelry making is another well-known Moroccan handicraft. Centuries ago, the Jewish people were the jewelry makers, passing down the craft from generation to generation. Since Marrakesh was the major stop in Morocco for caravan routes completing the trans-Saharan journey, its jewelry was influenced by the styles of sub-Saharan Africa. The Medina of Marrakesh is entirely enclosed by 19 kilometers of board ramparts containing 18 doors, the bab, which often adopt the religious form of the mihrab. The original wall was built by Almoravid Ali ben Youssef at the beginning of the 12th century to protect the city from external attacks. The southern part of the original Almoravid wall was subsequently destroyed. The ramparts are built entirely out of cob, an ancient construction technique first developed in Phrygia, in modern-day Turkey, in the 7th century BC. Instead of using concrete, the walls are built of a red, finely filtered mixture of sand and lime, which is then humidified and packed with the mass. In spite of its fragile aspect, constructions built using this technique are exceptionally durable. Marrakesh's walls originally date back over 900 years to the Almoravid dynasty. Covering a length of almost 10 kilometers, the city ramparts rank among Marrakesh's chief attractions. 10 gates lead through the walls into the Medina, many of which have served as models for those found in other Moroccan cities. Many horse-drawn carriages stand along the walls, ready to take tourists on a pleasure ride from one gate to the next. The height of the wall varies from 8 to 10 meters and is interspersed with more than 200 defensive towers. Entirely built of red earth, these walls have given Marrakesh its nickname, the Red City. A tour of the walls reveals the remarkable features which adorn some of the city gates. The gates of Bab-e-Arab and Bab Aghanou, both built by the Almoravids, are a splendid legacy of the era's defensive architecture. Marrakesh entered a period of decline under the Marinids, who captured the city in 1269. Since the Marinid capital was already located in Fez, Marrakesh fell into neglect for 2.5 centuries. The fortunes of Marrakesh revived under the Saadian dynasty. The Saadians were tribesmen from the Souks region, who conquered the whole of southern Morocco in a war against the Portuguese colonialists in Agadir. When the Saadians gained control of the whole of Morocco, their leader, Mohammed al-Mahdi, made Marrakesh his capital in 1551 and set about restoring the city. Moroccan artistry reached a high watermark during the Saadian period, when many splendid palaces were built that bear witness to their exquisite artistry. Marrakesh also became known as a magnet for some of the greatest Muslim saints. In the 17th century, Sultan Moulay Ismail assigned Sheikh al-Hassan al-Yusi to choose 7 Muslim saints to form a spiritual hierarchy for the city. Marrakesh, known as the Red City, is one of Morocco's most important touristic cities. The Medina of Marrakesh is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is an imperial capital with a glorious past.